Corals close to one of Singapore's lighthouses, Sultan Shoal, are being moved in a conservation project ahead of development work for the future Tuas terminal. Just over half the estimated 2,800 hard coral colonies on the reef will be relocated. And the Maritime and Port Authority says divers have completed about 80% of the move. Tan Chui with this story.
For months, marine biologists and volunteers have been diving the waters around Sultan Shoal, a rare sight in an area normally closed to the public.
So many sea cucumbers totally littering the reef. The reef had lots of anemone fish and anemones, which was really nice to see. So a lot of activity underwater.
It's no ordinary fun dive. With chisel and hammer, divers harvest coral from the reef piece by piece, transport them to their new home, and reattach them to the seabed with underwater cement. From Sultan Shoal in southwest Singapore, the corals will be moved to the Sisters and St. John's Islands. What's being moved are mostly hard corals, the building blocks of a coral reef.
The living tissue is in fact only a very thin layer on the top of the coral, and the bottom that you see here is in fact the skeleton, and it's literally rock. So the process of removing coral from the seabed, if done carefully, doesn't actually damage the coral.
Experts say the transplanted coral have about 70 to 80% chance of survival. But moving coral is still a last resort for conservation.
You can't totally transplant a reef. It's just not feasible, and there are organisms that are just not transplantable.
Even so, relocation may be the coral's best bet for survival, as development works for the future Tuas terminal begin in surrounding waters.
Singaporeans have reached a stage in development where they would like to see not only a city like ours being globally competitive, but also paying attention to things like identity, values, as well as the environment. So I think what we are doing is totally aligned with what the Singaporeans would expect.
With coral reefs in decline worldwide, what remains of Singapore's coral reefs today are valuable for their biodiversity.
Our reefs have been reduced, but whatever has remained is still representative of a very high diversity of corals. 250 species compared to 600 in the whole of Southeast Asia.
The day's over for these divers, but the work continues. The project team will monitor the health of both the transplanted coral and the Sultan Shoal reef over the next 5 years.